My name's Daniel. I moved over from New Zealand last October, end of October. It was a move that God put on my heart had been for some time, but I just kept delaying. My parents are here, my brother Matthew's here. I'm loving it. I love this country, to be honest. I love the people, and I'm really adapting quite quickly. I do miss the people back home, but you get over it quick enough. so yeah, it's been awesome. David asked me to give my testimony today. I've given my testimony a number of times before, and I think in the past I've sort of skipped a whole lot, to be honest, which kind of defeated the whole purpose of giving my testimony, because I wasn't, I told the truth, but I was sort of just dodging things that were hard for me to say. So this time around, I was like, God, man, God was to me said, you got to be honest this time. You got to be straight up with everyone, regardless of what you might think happened or people's reactions, because they had a fear of what man might think and stuff like that. So a quick background. I gave my life when I was 6 years old. We were living down the road at the time. A lot of people look at you like, what, you were 6? But I mean, the word itself says that our faith is to be that of children. So, at that time I fully understood who God was. I wanted to know him, and it wasn't just an emotional thing, it was real. And so you would think that, from there on, life would be pretty much perfect. I was 6 years old, I was in God, it was going to be all fun and games, but it wasn't. In fact, it actually went complete opposite. Growing up, I had, I'm not one of those people that can say, my childhood was really hard and all of this sort of stuff. I had a pretty much perfect childhood. My parents were amazing to me and my brother. They brought us up in every value and principle in God that we could think of. We were brought up in the Word quite strongly. We went to church, and it wasn't religious. It was a very much a real thing, and we understood it, me and my brother. So that was awesome. Then from about the ages of 6 to 12, just during school, everything was great. I was good in school. I had good grades. I made friends. Everything was going fine. I had an awesome family, very supportive. I can't really argue or regret anything of my childhood. Then, of course, I hit my teenage years, and as we all know, the teenage years can be a struggle for anyone, and it's a time of not only physical change, but mental, emotional, and everything kind of turned upside down. When I was about 13, I had issues with my sexuality, and I actually realized at the age of 13 that I was gay. And from there on, things took a really rough ride. It's not something that I have ever had a chance to talk about publicly, and it's not something that is really, it's very rarely addressed, especially in the church. And so from the ages of 13 to, from 13 to now, it was a huge struggle. Firstly, I denied everything because I was totally confused and shocked. I went to God and said, you know what, God, if you want me to do this life for you, then you've got to get rid of this because I can't deal with this. And so I was very much in denial, and I went through school, just not being honest with anyone, and people kind of picked it up, at certain times, and I just denied it more and more and more. I just closed up in myself. I became very, very angry. And unfortunately, my parents took most of that. But parents being parents in God, they're amazing, and they took everything I had to throw at them. And then, of course, I had to sort of make a decision as to whether I was going to live this lifestyle and lead it, in this lifestyle that I realized, or I was going to go with God 100%. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong path. And from there on, I sort of had, I left school, and then I told a few people, my friends. My family pretty much knew. They know you better than anyone, so I grew up, they knew. And so my friends were being in the world and living in a society today where it's so widely accepted and so normal now. It was easier for me to stay in that lifestyle. So I very much, but I still knew the truth. I still knew deep down that this wasn't how God created me. This is not my intent. And so, but of course I didn't want to have to deal with the truth. I didn't want to have to face God and say, I didn't want him to have to come to me and say, look, Daniel, you've got to overcome this. So therefore I turned to the next best thing for me, which was alcohol and drugs. So again, so widely appealing and so easy to get. And so drinking wasn't, and the drugs wasn't just a pastime or a weekend, it became my life. And I nearly lost my jobs over it. I was tearing my family apart over it. I was out from Tuesday to Sunday just getting absolutely hammered, and I was just a total mess. I was maxing out credit cards in one weekend. I was just going crazy. But it was all an escape. That's all it was. I mean, I can honestly stand here now and say there is not one person that's been through the whole party bars of drinking and drugs and whatever and can honestly say that they did it for fun, or they did it because they wanted to do it. They do it because they've got issues. They do it because there's something deep inside, that they have to deal with, and that sort of, the drugs and alcohol was an escape. It was a complete escape, even if it was temporary, which caused me to go into it further because it was so temporary and so, limited that I had to keep doing it to keep on that high, to keep away from dealing with that truth. And so it was totally escape. I was filling a void. And I was just going on and on and on. I was going down, down, down. And then in about 2008, I came over here to visit my brother. He was living here at the time. And that was my first breakthrough service. It's funny because I'd come over and the plan was to just completely party for 2 weeks and, not even care and just go hard. Didn't go anywhere near that kind of thing for some reason. And I ended up at church, and that's when I first saw David preaching. So I'm in church thinking, oh yeah, I'm here for my brother. Whatever, I've heard it all before. Next minute, I'm up the front. My hands up. I'm walking up honestly, I don't remember it, I just walked up the front and my hands up. Dave was looking at me and going, hey, Matthew's brother's up here. So fully points me out to everyone, and I just feel terrible. Okay, what a way to be exposed, thanks God, But, and then at that point, it was like, okay, God, I'm in this for real. Let's do this. What I didn't realize, however, was from there up until now was, I thought before that was hard, after that, it just got harder. It just went, not because I was going back to the world, but because God was like, right, that's it. I'm going to strip you and unravel you and cut everything that you were, So I can honestly say that, and people look at me and, and think, oh, that you can't live in God and live that lifestyle. And it's like, of course you can't. And I was never living a double standard, or, I was either there or there. And I just said to God, I just want to do that. And it's still been a process. I mean, it has been the hardest process of my entire life. And so I went back to Auckland, and I just started going to Breakthrough back in Auckland. And I was honest, I caught up with my pastor back in Auckland, Pastor Afi and Lynette, and I told them, and they, their hearts are so awesome, man. They just were like, what, who cares? And one thing Afi said to me that still stuck with me today is, make God the focal point, not the issue. Because I had it the other way around. I was making God the issue. I was angry at him. I was demanding him to take this from me. And he was like, no, you just need to, yes, that issue is there, but you just need to pursue me further. You just need to go deeper. You just need to just allow me to just renovate and restore everything within you. And so he did. And so where I'm at now is an awesome place. God has done an amazing job. I will be married and have children. She's somewhere in Spain or something, I don't know. But thanks, John. Maybe you agree with that. But yeah, and I just really am so excited about what God has in store for me and the promise He has for me. A lot of people can look at me and go, and a lot of people will look at you and won't see past that perception. They'll just go, you did this and you did that. That was my past. I don't live there anymore. I've gone past that. And so, but I guess one thing with today, one thing I sort of wanted to really highlight was, I was really nervous about today because I was really scared about being so open but I knew I had to do it. I knew that there's such a healing in a raw transparency when you get up and you can be so open and just expose yourself. And I know the people who've been giving their testimonies in earlier weeks will probably agree with that. And there's such a healing, and I had to really shift my perspective too. This is not just about me. There's thousands of people going through exactly the same things. There's sons and daughters of God that we're literally losing because, all they get is condemned. And to be honest, I do blame the church a lot for that. I caught up with David before this Sunday, and I said, you know what? The reason why this community of people and this group of people hates God and hates the church is because all we do is go, that's disgusting, that's wrong, you'll go to hell. And that's all the church does. And I've experienced that. And I just really, really think there needs to be such a shift in the perspective on this issue, because, it's so widely accepted. You may know someone that's going through it. A son or a daughter, you just don't know. And, I've heard people use derogatory terms in a church and, seemingly non-offensive and as a joke. I don't take it personally, for me, because I'm past that, but I just think, man, if we're supposed to be Christians and in the kingdom, we're supposed to bring these people to God, and we're using a derogatory term, regardless of whether it's a joke or not, it's not funny, and it needs to stop. And so my heart is just to really educate people and help people to understand and really give people the knowledge of the issue, that it's not something that, I don't know how it happened. I can't sit here and go give you some scientific calculation. It was not a chemical imbalance. If it was a chemical imbalance or you were abused when you were young, no, I wasn't. I went through nothing like that. I had a really good childhood. So, I can't explain how it happened. And I know I wasn't born like that though. And somewhere along the line, it was a mentality shift. Somewhere along the line, my mentality got shifted and deceived into thinking that this was normal, this was right, this was okay. And so until God came and basically said, no, you've got it wrong, buddy. So it's been a very hard process. It's been very difficult to open up to a lot of people, but yeah, from here on out, I really there just needs to be more of a level of acceptance in the church, especially for this type of issue. And the other thing is too, because these people that are going through this, there's a lot of suicide amongst this group of people, a lot of suicide. And that doesn't just come from the world. In fact, the world is more that's why it was easy to stay in the world, because the world's like, oh, you're sweet, all good, you're obviously born like that, so that's just normal, you go along with it. The church always like, oh no, you can't really come to church and then be like that. No one wants to, I didn't decide to wake up one morning and say, I'm going to make life really difficult for myself and put myself through this. And I contemplated suicide a number of times. If it wasn't for God, I would be dead. So, I can't thank God enough. I cannot thank Him enough for what He's done for me. And, I thank Him I didn't get to that point where I actually acted on it, because I didn't. But here, it was so prevalent. I literally would sit in my room and picture myself taking a blade to my wrist or something like that, and because I just thought, no one's going to care. I had so devalued myself and so thought myself unworthy that I thought, well, hey, this is not going to change. I obviously can't change myself, so you know what, no one's going to miss me if I just, no one's going to care. So I just encourage, you may be sitting there now, hearing me and going, whoa, because it's still a very taboo subject. People don't want to talk about it. It could still make people feel very uncomfortable. And good, I hope it does. In fact, I hope it offends some people if you've had an issue with it. Good, because I really don't care. I've gone past that. This is about God now. This is more than me. And so I really encourage people just to shift your perspective. And if you know people that are going through it, honestly, you need to be there for them, man. You need to, because you may be the only path they have to salvation. You may be their only encounter with God. And if they can't rely on the world, if they can't rely on the church, if they think God doesn't love them because of the way they are, then they've got no one. And it's not about going to them and going, you need to stop doing that. You need to change what you're doing and change your acts. You need to, as people in the kingdom, we need to help them realize their identity. It's an identity issue. It's an identity that's been deceived, and we need to help them realize that and realize their true purpose in God. So I'm just excited, eh? Like I just love where things are right now. I mean, I coming to this church in October. I said to David a few times, I'd been to Brisbane before and I knew that it was a bit messy. And after everything happened last year, I thought, oh, I'm going to Brisbane, God, how can you send me to that church after what's happened? Those people are messed up, man. I get here on my first Sunday and I was blown away. I'm just like sitting in, I'm looking around now going, God, honestly, you have completely leveled this church and leveled everyone and you're building it, from the ground up again. And I'm just amazed and so excited to be here, so excited to build, so excited to just serve God, serve everyone, and just, and it's been awesome. So that's pretty much me, but, I also encourage, I'm very, after coming up here and speaking about it, I'm pretty much can talk to anyone now, so if anyone's, if anybody knows anyone going through it or you have questions for me, please come to me and ask me about it. It's not something I'm scared to talk about anymore. It's something that I've definitely conquered and become simply because of God. It is God, and there's pretty much not much more I can say, really. So yeah.